Hi, I'm Michaela, and today I'll be talking about racial discrimination and how it relates to a social hierarchy. So, what are the effects of having a social hierarchy? Well, one of the effects is racial discrimination. Based on stereotypes, people will make assumptions about you. People make assumptions about each other as soon as they see the other. The second you meet or see someone, you make an impression. This will be a lasting impression. How people see you affects how you are placed in the social hierarchy. Of course, materialistic things like money also affect this, but that isn't what we're talking about today. We as a society need to become more aware of how we treat each other based on race. In Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck, there is an obvious social hierarchy. Typically, the highest people in the hierarchy are the boss, Curly and Slim. The middle tier being George, Carlson, and Candy. The bottom would typically consist of Curly's wife, Lenny, and Crooks. Now, Crooks' standing is on the bottom is because he's black. He has his own little room on the farm. Lenny was the first person to ever even step into Crooks' room before, which had left Crooks in shock. He also is discriminated in the case of how he isn't allowed to play card games with the other guys. This proves the fact of how social hierarchy is based on race, which leads to the effect of racial discrimination, which Crooks experiences by not being able to play cards and staying in rooms with the other guys. According to USA Today, in the US, from 2012 to 2016, there are more than 2.4 million crimes in which victims believe that the crime that was put on them was related to hate. But 2/3 of the victims weren't able to come up with good enough evidence for the police or FBI to claim it was a hate crime. A book that also addresses hate crimes is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. The main character Star sees the effect of social hierarchy daily. She goes to a rich prep school and lives in a poor black neighborhood. Between the two schools, she has to talk differently. At the prep school, they already see her as black, but she can't speak the way she talks in her neighborhood, or else they'll think of her as like the black girl with sass. In the neighborhood she's already in, they already think that she's like whitening up and stuff, I guess, because she's going to this white prep school. Along with all of this, she has a friend who gets shot, and all people seem to care about is the fact that he was a drug dealer. They don't care that he was murdered by a white police officer, they just care that he's a drug dealer. Being a drug dealer typically puts you at the bottom of the social hierarchy, but when you put black along with it too, it pushes you farther down into the hierarchy. The people who are running this trial use him being a drug dealer as an excuse as for why the police officer who shot him was right with doing so, and so they use that as like racial discrimination. They were just saying, oh, the police officer got another drug dealer off the street. He probably deserved him shooting at him, even though he didn't. People who are lower on the social ladder typically have their voices overpowered, just like Khalil did when he was shot. In the end, things are determined by the rich and powerful. Lost Voices by Darius Simpson and Scott Bosley says, the second day I realized I was black was in the gas station when I only had 25 cents, so I searched what to spend it on. The cashier flowed from aisle to aisle, eyes fixed on my hands. That was the first time I realized skin color was a crime. The cashier saw black people, as many people do, as criminals. Some white people do see black people as that, and this cashier is an example of that. This discrimination doesn't just happen in random places like the supermarket or when you get pulled over by a cop. It also happens at your job. For example, Raheem Sterling says in an article called "People Feel Free to Be Openly Racist," says former football star, that black and white soccer players are treated differently by magazines, newspapers, tabloids, and just at their job in general. Raheem posts an Instagram photo that was a photo of an article about two of his friends on his team that purchased a house. One of them is white, one of them is black, and this is a quote of what the Instagram photo said. You have two young players starting out their careers. Both play for the same team. Both have done the right thing, which is buy a new house for their mothers, who have put in a lot of time and love into helping them get where they are. But look at how the newspapers get their messages across for the young black player and the white player. I think this is unacceptable. Both innocent have not done a thing wrong, but just by the way it has been worded. The young black kid is looked at in a bad light, which helps fuel racism and aggressive behavior. So for all the newspapers that don't understand why people are racist in this day and age, all I have to say is have a second thought about fair publicity and give all players an equal chance. To wrap this all up, I want to let you know that I can't control what you do with this information that I have handed you, and recognize your own behavior of how you treat other people related to their race. I hope you recognize when someone else is treating someone else unfairly because of race. It helps you stand up for people who are being treated poorly by others. So, thank you.